Welcome to the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia 2016, and you're listening to FoxNews.com live streaming. Our guest today, Jessica Ehrlich. Jessica Ehrlich is a Democratic strategist, a former congressional candidate, and Jessica, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
I'm very interested in your take on, first, Bill Clinton speaking for his wife last night, and then I want you to tell me about what President Obama, speaking for his former Secretary of State tonight, can do. But let's start with Bill Clinton.
Well, I really enjoyed, I'd say, the last half of the speech. The first half, I know, was definitely aimed at sort of humanizing Hillary, showing that side of her that most people don't see. But also, it was an interesting combination because I think that part of it was the first spouse speech.
Right.
So usually we see that from, whether it be from Melania or from Michelle Obama, but we saw that from a former president. So it was sort of, and then he moved into sort of the policy and what she's done and what she's going to do, which is really where, for a policy wonk like me, who already loves Hillary, I'm like, yes, that's it. So that was very interesting, but it was a neat combination of that. More, I think, probably foreshadowing what we'll see from him as the first spouse going forward.
And then tonight, President Obama.
So I think we're finally going to really also start to get into more policy issues and a very positive stance from the president. We've seen that over and over in a lot of his speeches lately, particularly in contrast to what the RNC was deemed to be a very dark speech, very sort of dystopian. I think he'll talk a lot about what we've accomplished in the last 8 years of the country, where we're going, the path we're on, and how Hillary Clinton will be able to lead us going forward.
Now, some people point to the fact that President Obama has a plus 50% approval rating at this moment and therefore would be of value to Hillary Clinton. But Republicans can't stand President Obama. So how do you manage that from a strategist point of view?
Well, there are a lot of people who can't stand Donald Trump. I mean, I think we're in a point right now in our nation where we're very polarized. But certainly, he's got very high approval ratings. I don't think that a Hillary Clinton presidency is exactly just a continuation of an Obama presidency. She is her own woman. She has always been her own leader and has shown that over and over in what she's done. But certainly, Democratic principles are what she and Obama share together for sure on many levels, and that's what we see that's a little bit different, although Donald has certainly been co-opting some of them.
Well, hold on, you've got so much packed in it, so let me unpack it, if you will. Republicans say Hillary Clinton is trying to run for a third term of President Obama.
Yes.
And they use this to say, do you want 8 or 4 more years of what you had the last 8 years? They intend this as a sharp criticism. I want to know how you, as a Democratic strategist, hear this line of attack.
It's just sort of more of the rhetoric that it doesn't even really, I don't think that for Republicans as much. I mean, that's why we've seen this huge division within the party. Right now, Donald Trump's appeal, he is the Republican candidate. But the guys who are saying, oh, he's just an extenuation of Obama, are the old school who just sort of have been, as they say, the GOP, who I think have kind of gotten the boot. What you're seeing is this expansion where Trump is trying to actually capture some of the Democratic voters because numbers-wise right now, he has to take some of the swing states, a lot of those places, in order to win the presidency. Even though he got a bump after the convention because he's been mentioning things like anti-trade. I mean, things you never thought you would hear from a Republican, particularly at a Republican convention, and then going forward this week. I mean, it's unbelievable. Working on the equal pay issues and all these things. I mean, Ivanka could have been speaking this week at the DNC.
Now, also, again, unpacking what you said, so interesting. You said, let's talk about policies, and let's talk about Hillary's policies, Obama policies. Where do you see them connected? Where do you see them disconnected?
Certainly they're connected, I would say, in a lot of the economic policies. I think the growth and the trajectory, the president really has tried to emphasize, as have all Democrats, even though they've been in the minority, the emphasis on investment in infrastructure and building the economy. What he was handed after 8 years of Bush in terms of the economy and the horrible recession we were in, we were fast on our way to going into what could have been another Great Depression.
So she would be a continuation of the economic policy.
I think between what he was able to do, hopefully also we're seeing a lot of changes that are going on within the House, possibly even within the Senate. We could see Democrats taking over a majority again in the Senate, which would make economic policy that's really, as someone from my generation also, it's been so long since the heydays of the Bill Clinton economy. I'm ready for that. I think a lot of voters are ready for that. That's part of the frustration that independents, Democrats, and Republicans are feeling. The middle class has been hit over and over, and that the policies certainly of Obama and Hillary go towards that.
But the Republicans say, in fact, that it's been a very slow recovery.
Of course,
and the reason that people are so anxious about the economic condition of the country is that we haven't seen what would be a normal rate of recovery. And they blame Obama and, of course, then say, well, Hillary will just continue that slow recovery.
Well, I think it's selective number choosing. So what we did was we avoided a cliff. We turned things around. If we'd been able to do even more investment in infrastructure, transportation, and job building that the Democrats and the president wanted to do, we would have seen an even larger bump. But there have also been, a lot of issues that have gone back and forth with the Fed, as we just saw, they didn't raise rates again. They're trying to make sure we've dealt with a global economic situation that a lot of companies and corporations, particularly those who've been trying to go offshore with their taxes and do all these things, avoiding them, have not raised the wages for workers in this country, be it the minimum wage or be it just for the average person. So people are just getting employed again. They're just getting out from underwater. They may be even just sort of advancing in their 401k. They haven't seen a cost of living increase in their wages in probably 5+ years. Now, that's not the fault of the president. That is a strategy that's being employed by companies who are fearful because of what's been happening. They're hoarding
But let's go to the
resources.
politics then. Okay, let's move away from the economy for a second. So what are some other points of departure between Clinton and Hillary Clinton and President Obama?
I think there are some points of departure in terms of emphasis also. I think she's got certainly an emphasis for women's issues. I think we'll see a lot more on that. It's just sort of a natural thing. In foreign policy, I think she has a very different experience. And
More
I think
hawkish?
she's a little bit. But I don't think hawkish is the word. I think she's just very tough. I mean, she's been around this table before. She's been, in meetings. There's a great story that even the president has about the two of them sort of barging in on, the Germans and the Russians in a meeting. And I mean, this is not her first time at the rodeo. She was there when President Bill Clinton was in office. She's been there with Madeleine Albright. She's been there on her own. And she knows the players, and she knows what's going on. And I think that's a huge advantage because certainly I feel that. I think a lot of voters do. There's so much instability. There's something happening every day. It's scary. It's frightening. I mean, it's frightening for children. It's frightening for adults. You hear things like what just happened in Normandy. It's happening all the time now in Fort Myers, Florida, just in my backyard. So we want someone who's a steady leader, who knows what they're doing and go in and we're not worried.
That's why some people say they want a strong, powerful male figure, Donald Trump.
I don't think strong, powerful male figure. I think it's a strong, powerful figure. I think that's her. She's someone who's rock solid. She has been, a lot of people think it's a detriment that she's been in the public eye for now 40-some years. I think that's a huge benefit to her right now. As part
Even
of
in
her
a
resume.
populist moment, anti-establishment
Absolutely,
moment.
because we're in this, the reason the populist movement right now is so strong also is because people are frightened.
Right.
There's so much, just whether it's economically or security-wise, and she has the ability to be the adult in the room. And we don't have to wonder if she's going to go off-piste and say something crazy at a press conference. We don't have to be afraid of that. We know that she will bring in the right people and will be there to actually lead.
Jessica Ehrlich, let me ask you two quick questions. We're coming to the end of our time. One is you're from Florida. We talked about the U.S. Senate. Is there a chance that the Democrats might win that Senate seat? Marco Rubio now says he's running for the Republicans.
Absolutely, and we're working very hard to ensure that that happens. They've already been spending a lot of money against Patrick Murphy, but he's
You mean
great,
the Republicans, because Patrick Murphy is the Democratic
Chamber of Commerce has. I mean, the ads have been going nonstop already ever since Marco Rubio said he was getting back into the race. But, Marco didn't win Florida.
All right, and last question. some of the polling, even in the midst of this Democratic convention, show Trump now climbing into the lead over Hillary Clinton. You're a Democratic Party strategist. Worried?
I'm not worried. He's got the after-party convention bump going on. He's still, stealing some headlines, but he went from a 9% bump to a 7% bump. It's going down a little bit every day, and 9%, I mean, compared to what past Republicans have had, it's usually 11 to 13%. So, they're neck and neck for sure. I think this is going to be an incredibly fascinating election. There's no doubt about it. It's a reality TV show in the most unbelievable way, but, I think hopefully that the adults in the room will win, and that'll be Hillary Clinton, and she'll be our first woman president.
Jessica Ehrlich, a Democratic strategist, former congressional candidate. You can contact her at Jess Ehrlich, JESSEHRLICH. You're at the Democratic National Convention 2016 in Philadelphia, and you're watching FoxNews.com live streaming.